Hey, this is Jeremy Roenick, and like everything, I only touch greatness. And I am coming up on their podcast right now. Don't miss it.
great steaks, great staff, head over to the John B. Pub.
We got the best beers, steaks, chicken wings, nachos in town. Come see us at the John B. Pub.
The John B. Pub, the best bar in town. Come sign up for our football pool. Say Hayes sent you.
Turn it up. The #1 sports podcast in Vancouver with Ryan Hayes and Big Mike.
Ryan Hayes and Big Mike.
That's okay. So I'm Ryan, by the way. I'm the one that's been talking to you. Very nice to meet you.
Are taking over the podcast scene in Vancouver.
Brian, by the way.
Get down or lay down.
Yeah, it's Ryan Hayes. But we actually ran into you about a month ago up here with Dale. I paid to get your autograph.
Oh yeah, fantastic! I love it. That was a fun little show up there. It was great.
Yeah,
JR. I think I met you a couple years ago at the NHL Awards in Vegas, actually.
Oh man, that had to have been
10 years ago. 8 years ago. Yeah,
I got that picture queued up, ready to roll here.
Go.
There it is.
Oh man, yeah,
a long time ago. You remember that?
Yeah, it was thin back then. I loved it.
Yeah. Bill's eyes aren't even open.
Yeah.
Good timing. Good timing.
Must have been a good one. Okay, let's get started. Born in Boston, what was childhood like for you growing up, and did you play any other sports?
I'd say it was pretty sports oriented. My brother and I were both big into sports. I played pretty much every major sport that most kids played. Baseball, soccer. I was a better soccer player probably than hockey player at the time when I was younger. Golfed at a young age. Yeah, I didn't play football until high school, where I kicked field goals for our high school team, just to stay busy during school. But during the fall semester, but I pretty much played everything. I was a total jock, and grew up in Boston and up and down the Eastern Seaboard. And again, life as a young kid with sports, pretty much 24/7 was pretty exciting.
Was there one sports athlete you kind of looked up to as a kid?
I think there's a few of them. I grew up in Boston, so the hockey wise, it was Rick Middleton to me. Again, I told you about my soccer background. Pele was really big. A soccer player named Giorgio Canaglia used to play for the Cosmos back in the 70s. He was I was a big fan of his. So, those are probably the ones that I kind of looked after. Bobby Orr. I mean, if I didn't say Bobby Orr, I'd be lying to you. So, those were pretty much the icons of my adolescence for sure.
Okay. And take us back to draft day, where you were drafted 8th overall to Chicago and straight out of high school, which is totally unheard of nowadays.
Well, it was unheard of. It was unheard of back then. Even more so. I mean, back in the 80s, you didn't have high school kids get drafted in the first round, especially ones that were 150 pounds. The kids that were getting drafted were either junior. Even the U.S. kids like Mike Modano, he got drafted number 1. He was of high school age, but he played in Prince Albert. He played in the Western League, so it was definitely a very, very rare thing. I think, the only other players I remember back in the 80s that were drafted out of high school were Bobby Carpenter, Phil Housley, Tom Barrasso. We were really the only ones that were drafted. Tommy Peterson was in the 90s. So, it was not a very, very popular thing for teams to draft you out of high school, because the mentality was Canadian hockey, tough, hard hitting. School wasn't really the popular thing back then towards NHL.
Do you have any good draft stories? I was told to ask you. One of my friends sent me a text message.
Well, you got to get my book, because my book has all my stories.
Of course, you got 2 books out right now.
Yeah, so reading my books would give you a lot of fun stories. But my agent at the time on draft day told me not to step on a scale, so they couldn't see how much I weighed. And I remember seeing Mike Keenan in the city the night before draft day at dinner, in the bathroom, and standing at the urinal asking me why they should draft me, and so on and so forth, and asked me if I had big balls. And I said, well, it's kind of ironic that you asked me if I have big balls where we're standing, but and I just said, you want a guy who go to the wall for you, who's wanted everything he's ever done, and as a competitor, and you should be drafting me. But the cool thing is there's a guy named Jack Davidson and Sean Cody, two Blackhawks scouts that were very, very heavy on drafting me. And I don't think a lot of the brass were really into drafting me number 8 overall that year. And Jack Davidson and Sean Cody pretty much said to their whole crew, if you don't draft this kid with our 8th pick, then we quit. And then we're not working for you anymore. You don't trust this kid's he's gonna be a superstar in the game, and we'll put our job behind this draft pick. And ended up picking me. Obviously, they didn't lose their job. They did pretty good.
Yeah, I think that turned out to be a good pick.
Better than the 5th pick where I thought I was going to go. I thought I was going to go to Quebec, and Quebec might have had probably the worst draft pick in the history of the first round with drafting Daniel Doré, who was a tough guy in the Quebec League back then. I don't think he played one game in the National Hockey League, to tell you the truth, at least not a regular season game.
Okay.
JR, you spent a lot of time in Phoenix and Chicago. Which did you like most?
Well, I mean, every city that I played in had awesome characteristics. I mean, if you look at the 5 cities that I played in, I arguably played in the best places to either play a sport or live. So Chicago being one of the best sports cities with the Bulls, and this during the Bulls run during the early 90s.
Yeah.
And the Bears coming off at 86, winning a Super Bowl. I was drafted in 88, so that was a happening thing. The Bulls were always big. The Bears were always big, and just sports in general. Plus, it's the mecca. Chicago is the mecca of the United States, and especially the Midwest. You move into Philly, which has, without a doubt, the most passionate, most hard-nosed, most diabolical, but most loyal fans that I've ever seen. I had a great relationship with Philly. So, and two, again, another good city to live in, a good metropolitan city to live in. Then I go to Phoenix, where, I could play golf in the afternoon. I can go to practice in flip-flops and a t-shirt and shorts. It was beautiful weather all the time. You can live your life without being bothered by people. And it was the same in San Jose and LA. San Jose is a little different because the fans were passionate there. I mean, we had a rowdy team. We had a rowdy group of fans. The building was awesome to play in, and we were one of the best teams in the league. So arguably I had probably 5 of the best cities I could possibly play in.
Yeah. I mean, Phoenix right now, they're pretty hot in that new arena they got. They've been playing well.
Yeah. If you like playing in a minor league arena, and you like being a minor league team, but you got to give them credit. They play with heart. They play hard. They play competitive hockey, and they might not be the most talented team, but they probably have the team that has the most commitment and the most and probably the most will in the National Hockey League. Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I don't think they're going to win the Bedard.
No, that's
Connor Bedard. That's Connor Bedard's, but yeah, they're not going to win it either. No, they're going to go right. They're going to go right to Chicago. He's going right to Chicago.
Do you remember your first NHL goal? Because you still have the puck.
I do have the puck. It was crazy because I was playing in Hull, and I got an emergency call up in February. Yeah. I actually hadn't played a game in over a month after coming back after the World Juniors. I got hurt in my first game back in Hull. So I hadn't played for a month. The Blackhawks had too many injuries. They had an emergency situation where they were able to bring up a guy out of junior. They brought me in from Hull, and I actually missed a flight in Toronto to get there because of a snowstorm and a car accident that I got into trying to get to the airport in Hull.
You got T-boned.
I T-boned. I ran a stop sign, T-boned somebody else, and almost didn't make it. Luckily the Hull police force were fans of mine. They got me to the airport, got on my flight, and I scored that night. Didn't even skate in the pregame skate. They put a jersey on me without my name on it, just my number. And I scored my first goal against Kari Taco. It was not a pretty goal, but it was assisted by Brian Noonan, the guy that I used to play with in the summer times back in Boston. So it's pretty cool, unique goal for being my first one. Then I scored my next 2 games after that And I remember Mike Keenan told Mike Gapsky, the trainer, make sure that those guys that are injured stay on the injured list because we can't afford to send JR down right now. He's playing too well. So I ended up staying up for I think 20 games that season.
Wow. Yeah, I knew the name bar story too, and I'm dropping in the highlights of your first goal as you were explaining that. So the 9-time All-Star. What's your thoughts on being recognized by your peers so many times?
Well, obviously, I took that very seriously. I mean, I loved being an All-Star, and it bothered me when there was a lot of people who refused to go to All-Star games because they wanted to take a break, they wanted some time off. I mean, you're recognized as one of the best players in the league, one of the best players on your team, and to represent your team. So I always thought that was a great honor, and I loved doing it. I thought there was a few years I should have been on it where I wasn't on it, but I had some pretty good All-Star games, and obviously some of the skills competitions I did really well in, and won the accuracy shooting a couple times, but. Again, these are, to be amongst the top players of your peers in a sport, especially professional sport, is something to be really proud of.
So you got a lot of things going on right now. Of course, the 2 books are out, and you also started Whiskey in the Wild.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your new products?
It's right here, baby. Whiskey in the Wild.
There she is.
It's a beautiful bottle. As you can see, we did something very cool. We put a flask in the bottle. We call it the traveling. We called it the traveling spirit. We want to make sure that people can take it with them when they leave the house, but it's also a really, really awesome spirit to enjoy at home in front of a fire. It's a chocolate whiskey. We also have a chocolate orange. Flask comes right off. Bottle sits there. Take it right with you. We started it in 2020. And we wanted something that was very unique and something different. There's not many chocolate whiskeys in the world, and the ones that are out there are, to tell you the truth, they're not very good. This will change the way that you feel about whiskey, whether you're a whiskey drinker or not, which most women aren't, but we have been able to capture the female audience when it comes to drinking whiskey. And I think a lot of men really appreciate the fact that they can drink a glass of whiskey with their significant other, whether it's at a golf course, on a fire, whether it's on a camping trip, or whether you're just sitting at the house in front of the TV before you go to bed. It is truly one of the greatest whiskeys ever created, and it's a chocolate and chocolate orange, and we've just been killing it, just been absolutely killing it.
The chocolate orange one, I can imagine it tastes like one of those chocolate oranges at Christmas that you would bang down.
You know what it tastes like? It actually tastes like an old fashioned right out of the bottle. Put a nice big block of ice, pour it. It's an old fashioned. It's got that nice orangey taste. There's no burn going down. You get a really good chocolate taste with it. And, I can't tell you how many people I've gone up to in the course of a week or a day and asked them if they like whiskey, and they said no. And I said, well, would you mind trying mine? And they're like, I don't think so. And I convinced them to. And literally about 90% of the people buy it right after they try it. So we definitely have something that's really special. There's no question. I always say the bottle is very interesting. The bottle will catch your eye.
Yes.
But the liquid will capture your heart and it'll bring you back. There's no question about it.
I know right now it's not in Canada, but it's on its way.
Yeah, we're hoping at some point next year that we can get it up into Canada. So the best way to do it is to get down here into the States, order a bottle, and sneak it in your luggage back up into Canada. But listen, I do use a Canadian whiskey out of Alberta, so I do appreciate a good Canadian whiskey. So we're representing in that aspect, but right now it is not available in Canada. A lot of harsh rules up there in Canada. The liquor laws are pretty tough up there. The government owns all the liquor. And, so we'll see what happens.
So what did you think when Tom Brady copied you and came out of retirement? You retired shortly and then came out of retirement.
Well, I didn't retire. I just had nobody that wanted to draft me. So wanted to sign me. So I just spent a couple extra months without a team. to me, it wasn't. I don't care about coming out of retirement because I mean, the Gronk did it. I think maybe twice.
He's going to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, why do it and then come back like a couple weeks later? That's what I don't get. It was, I thought that was a really bad miscommunication and probably a bad judgment on his part. But he is the GOAT. I mean, you don't question anything that the GOAT does. He can't taint his legacy, no matter what he does, in my opinion.
That's just it. And your 500th goal. It's quite the beauty going bar down on Alex Alda.
Yeah, beauty. Yeah. Well, it was barred. It actually was barred down because I did hit the partition, the metal partition that was in the glass, and Alex Alda actually knocked it into the net. So in actuality, I got the assist, and Alex got the goal, but I was the last shark that touched it. But, the funny story was that the morning of, somebody asked me if I had an empty net, whether I'd scored my 500th goal into an empty net. And I said no. I literally said no. I don't want my 50th goal to be into an empty net. I never expected that my 50th goal would have been actually uglier than an empty net goal. So, but yeah.
You got a favorite sports movie?
A lot of good sports. I mean, if you're going with the hockey, everybody's got to love Slapshot, right? Yep. That's always a great movie. Youngblood was always a big fan. I was always a big fan of Youngblood. Back in the day, I had a couple friends that were in Youngblood. Steve Thomas, who I played with, was one of the characters in Youngblood. Caddyshack I'm a big fan of Caddyshack. How can you not love that? Miracle obviously was sports movie. That's what is it? Remember the Titans I was a big fan of Remember the Titans. So yeah, there's a lot of good sports movies out there. There's no question about it.
Go ahead.
Do you miss playing the game these days? Getting out there with the boys?
No, I don't miss it at all. To tell you the truth, it's I played it as hard as I possibly can, and maybe as hard as anybody can play it for 21 years, and put my heart and soul into it. Had enormous amount of injuries, and I think I achieved pretty much everything I wanted to do, with the exception of winning a Stanley Cup. And I remember when I did retire, when I did make that actual statement to my GM, who was Doug Wilson at the time. I remember that it was like the biggest breath of fresh air that I've ever taken in my life. It's almost like the whole weight of the world was taken off me, and I didn't have a care in the world. I didn't have to worry about getting into shape. I didn't have to worry about scoring another goal. I didn't have to worry about the pressure of the fans, the media, living up to expectations, and I could decide what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I never looked back. I mean, I love watching the game. I'm a big fan of the game. I think the players today are just insanely talented, but I don't miss the game at all. I don't miss the NHL at all. I don't miss the politics of NHL at all. I don't miss the way that they treat some people, the way that they run their ship, or kind of. But NHL has done a really good job over the last 30 years to make it one of the most powerful sports in the world, and I'm just proud that I was part of it, for sure.
What do you think when you see the kids doing the Michigan?
It's the creativeness and these abilities for these kids to try things in the game that we didn't even think of back then. When I say the game is great, the talent that is out there right now is so spectacular. It's at such a high level. Everybody's fast. Everybody can shoot the puck. Everybody's in great shape. Everybody takes care of themselves. It wasn't like that when I started. I mean, you do the Michigan goal back when I was playing. You get your ass kicked. You get beat up. You don't embarrass people like that. But it's a different mentality now. It's more accepted. It's more of an entertainment type thing.
So, what do you think of Connor Bedard out here in Canada?
I think he's awesome. I think he's another generational player that's going to be just an amazing attraction in the National Hockey League. I mean, we see what Connor McDavid's doing. He's the best player ever to be put on two blades. I mean, he's the most talented player in my opinion, in the history of hockey.
Yeah.
And he can do things on two blades that I'd never imagined possible. And I think Bedard is going to come in and might have those same expectations. It's going to be interesting. I mean, he just shredded the World Juniors, and that's a really good stepping stone and barometer for, his draft year. Which is why I hope the Chicago Blackhawks get continue to lose and they can get that first pick and be able to bring a guy like that, because that person alone can change a whole organization. Kind of like Taves and Kane did in 2005, 2006 with the Hawks when they were the worst team in the league. 5 years later, they ended up winning their first Stanley Cup in 40 years. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you guys got enough Stanley Cups. Vancouver needs to win one here, and we'd love to have Bedard when he pulls an Eric Lindros and decides to only play in Vancouver.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But I've always been a big Vancouver fan. I wasn't too happy when they let my buddy Travis Green go. I think he was one of the best. He was one of the best things that Vancouver has had in a long time. But it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Always going in, and my night at the Roxy was always a good night, and getting ready to go play in the old Forum back there, and it was pretty fun.
The one question I wanted to know was your favorite Vancouver related story, and then also, can you tell me when you were scratched that night? You said you went for dinner. What did you have for dinner?
I had a nice steak, man. The Keg, there's not many better places to get a steak than the Keg, and it was. I got scratched. I wasn't happy, and I was hungry. So no sense sitting around the rink and watching a hockey game. My ex roommate in Chicago, Mike Hudson, actually lived in Vancouver at the time, and I asked him if he was going to go to the game, and he kind of was questioning whether he was going to go. I said, let's just meet for dinner. And so I had a nice dinner with my ex roommate from Chicago, watched the game, and there was a guy that was at the bar that actually tweeted that I was watching the game at the bar at the restaurant, and I gave the Keg probably more publicity than they've ever gotten in the media after that. But they tried to suspend me and all that stuff, but I kind of gave it to brass and the people that they say it's the unwritten rule, and I said, go fuck yourself. If you're going to make a rule, make a rule, but you're not going to suspend me for an unwritten rule. People. And I said to Gretz, I said, how many unwritten rules you've broken, Gretz, and now you're going to tell me I can't go out to dinner? Go fuck yourselves.
Can't eat a steak, right?
Yeah. And Gretz knew. Gretz knew. Gretz is like, hey, listen, I don't have any problem with it, but the management and the league doesn't like the way it looks and all that stuff, and they're all about looks and image and all that stuff, and I really didn't care. I was pissed. I didn't play. If I'm not playing, who cares if I'm in the press box? If I'm in the press box, or if I'm sitting in a restaurant having a good dinner before I go home, So again, a lot like the National Hockey League, they make a big deal out of stupid things, and that was one of them.
What did it mean to you to represent your country and put the U.S. flag on them?
Well, obviously you put the red, white, and blue on. It's amazing. Just like if you put the red and white on up in Canada. I mean, those are your colors. You're not playing for a city. You're playing for a nation, and to be associated with the best in your nation. I mean, just think of how many kids play, hockey in America, or it's just millions and millions and millions, and you're amongst the top 20. I mean, that's an honor. I took that very seriously, and to be in the 2002 gold medal game against Canada was probably my favorite moment ever as a hockey player, knowing that we are a superpower and we're playing against our arch rivals and the team that we hated but respected the most, right? And even though we lost, it was a hell of a fucking game.
Yeah, that was the question. Was your favorite Olympic moment? So perfect.
Oh, for sure.
Many great sound bites over the years. Do you have a favorite one?
I think my back and forth with Patrick Roy was really great. Two iconic guys going at it, playoffs. I just undressed him in a goal, and then got tripped in a breakaway the next game, and him saying he would have stopped me after he just got his jock just wrenched into the stand the day before, and we just had a good back and forth. But he's arguably one of the best goaltenders in the history of the game, definitely the top three. But those
quote that he would have stopped me. I just want to know where he was in Game 3. Probably getting his jock out of the stands out of the Raptors United Center, maybe.
I can't really hear what Jeremy says because I got my 2 Stanley Cup rings plugged in my ear.
Those were good banters back and forth. I think the bantering with the National Hockey League when I got carved up complaining about the refs, that's always an iconic moment, regardless whether the league liked it or not. It was the challenge and challenging the powers, which I always like to do. But it's I did a lot of really cool things with in television where I promoted the game, did a lot of great charity stuff to promote the game. So, even though I was a loudmouth, and even though I was very honest and very sometimes controversial, I did way more good and brought way more positive attention than I did negative attention. And, sometimes people just don't like certain people that rock the boat or, are outside the box. And I didn't want to be one of the normal guys inside that just spoke in cliches that were boring to listen to in an interview. I mean, I saw an interview with that Seattle Kraken defenseman. I think his name is Larson. The other day in intermission, he's standing down in the runway in between intermission, and it was one of the worst interviews I've ever listened to. I mean, when you talk about monotone, not saying anything of substance, nothing that made me smile, and I just think these kids need to be taught how to give good interview instead of just being just dull and boring and bland and just it's you can predict what the predictable, very, very predictable.
He said he doesn't see it. I mean, what the hell is he looking at? You have to take responsibility for the way that they referee. National Hockey League has to step in and tell these guys to open up their eyes. I mean, it's ridiculous. And wake up already. It's a joke. Wake up. NHL, wake up.
The game was so much more entertaining when you were playing JR. You brought that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the National Hockey League really it preaches to its teams. It preaches team first, squeaky clean image. Don't put yourself ahead of the team. Which are all good things, but they also have to sell tickets, and they also have to bring in revenue, and personalities bring in revenue. And you always see the guys that are the most personable, at least the most outgoing, seem to be the ones that get left out of certain things. Now, there's a reason PK Subban's not playing right now. It's not because he can't play the game.
Yeah, that's for sure. Sure. With dance moves like you've shown over the years, how come you haven't been on Dancing with the Stars?
I actually was asked to do Dancing with the Stars, but it was about a month. It was a month after I took my television job and different networks. So I was asked to do Dancing with the Stars. I was asked to do Amazing Race and then the Survivor.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. So I was asked to do a lot of those different shows, and just never had time to do it because my real jobs have gotten in the way.
That's my dream. Is my dream is to be on Survivor. I've actually made like videos and applied for it. It's many times. Had to make it funny one too.
Very cool. Very cool.
JR,
go ahead.
Who are some of the toughest guys you fought or dropped the gloves with back in the day?
Well, if you look at the list of people that I fought, it's an extensive, tough one. I fought Marty McSorley twice. Unfortunately, I fought Bob Probert because he attacked me, but I still fought him. I fought Craig Berube. I fought Mark Bell twice, who was 6'4", very tough kid. Fought my good old buddy up there in Toronto, Darcy Tucker, a couple times.
Did you ever fight Sean Avery?
No, never fought Sean. Sean was actually on my team, and Sean and I got along. I think I'm one of the few people. I'm probably one of the few people that Sean ever liked in the National Hockey League. Myself and Brett Hall, we were very good friends. Very similar personalities, right? I think the best fight I ever had though was against Scott Walker there in Vancouver. You go on YouTube and see my fight with Scott Walker right there in Vancouver was probably my best fight that I've had. And he hit me with some bombs, but I didn't waver.
Yeah. Do you have a Gino story other than signing autographs the same day last month?
Yeah. Listen, you just talk about a great character guy, a guy that everybody wants in his team, a guy that overcame odds to play in the National Hockey League. I never fought him. I was always at a first row seat to see some of his fights when he fought either Stu Grimson or Cam Russell or somebody like that with the Hawks. But I love Gino. I think he's pure class, man.
Perfect. We're going to use that clip when we get him back on.
Yeah, he's awesome. I think he's great.
Do you think, JR, there's still a place in the game today for a little bit of that tough stuff, or what's your thought?
I always think so. I think it keeps the game honest.
I agree.
I think one of the things that I haven't liked over the last few years is you take out the instigator rule and you have idiots running around just hitting people just because that's all they can do. They're instigators. They try to create havoc. They drive people crazy. They actually endanger a lot of other players by the way that they play. And then there's no accountability for their actions. Right. And I don't think we need fights like we used to have every day, but I think there is something about a good tilt every once in a while. And sometimes guys have to be accountable for the way that they play. And when you do something stupid, it's good to get it, get some retribution for sure.
For sure.
Do you still have any side effects from concussions? Like I fell and hit my head and had concussions from hockey over the years, and I'm starting to see things slipping.
I'm pretty good. I feel I'm pretty good. I'm in great shape in terms of my body. I don't have too many side effects. I mean, listen, I forget a lot of things. My memory is not as good, but I do turn 53 years old next week. So getting older comes with age, but I take care of myself. I've done some concussion treatments to make sure that my brain stays healthy. And, I do make sure that I work out every single day, and I enjoy life a lot, but I definitely make sure that I do the right thing to take care of myself.
You still got that good flow, JR.
I do have good hair. It's one thing I've been blessed with. It's getting a little long though. I'm getting the mullet going again.
There you go.
Yeah. My helmet would look good on me right now.
Yeah, it could be worse. You could look like this guy.
Yeah. A little Darren Pang look. That's not bad either.
That's just it. Hey, if you were an animal, what animal would you be?
I've been asked this question before, and that's a tough one for me. Everybody likes to be the king of the jungle, right? Everybody wants to be the dominant, that dominant creature. For me, though, I think if I had a choice, I'd probably want to be a bald eagle. I'd want to be somebody that could be on top of everything and kind of see everything, can kind of untouchable. Still a very, very dominant figure, but something that I think soaring above the clouds, man, being the A-type predator from the sky. That's probably would be what I would choose, an American bald eagle.
So we always ask that question because my answer to that would be a dolphin, because I look like a dolphin because I'm bald with no hair and a nose.
Well, you're halfway there. Grow some fins, man. You're gonna be good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like me and Tim Hunter had a nose off one time. We both were comparing our noses. Yeah.
Hey, JR.
Yeah.
Can you tell us that Vegas story about your buddy pulling those markers or whatever?
I think that story it takes about 30 minutes to tell. I was a prankster. I played that prank on Devin Setaguchi and Torrey Mitchell, and literally scared Torrey Mitchell to jump out of a window. Right. So, I would go on Spittin' Chicklets and listen to Torrey Mitchell tell the story and me tell the story on that. But this was a lot of money. I hired a professional Hollywood, company to do it, special effects company, and it was probably one of the best pranks of all time. But to scare one of my teammates to jump out a double pane window, and wild. run 3 miles before we finally caught him. You've achieved the best prank ever.
You got a favorite piece of sports memorabilia?
Well, I think my silver medal is pretty spectacular. I'm going to keep that very close. I have signed sticks from probably the greatest players of all time. I have a Michael Jordan jersey that he signed for me. I have a Bobby Orr signed stick. I have a Bobby Orr, a Bobby Hall Gretz. I mean, I have some of the best shit ever. I have a Tretiak sign stick. So I have a lot of things that I really enjoy that I have that I'm going to save for my kids. But I wasn't the biggest memorabilia collector, but I made sure that when I did meet greatness, that I saved something from them.
How about did you get any good dressing room pranks back in the day?
It's kind of hard when you're in a dressing room. You always have your little ones that you always had to go through. Like, you got to make sure when you pick up the hair dryer that there's not baby powder that was dumped in the middle of them. I can't even tell you how many times my socks were cut in half when I put them on, that my ties were cut, my arms and my sleeves of my shirts were cut. How many times I used to pull my helmet off the top ledge, to come down, and people put the glasses of water underneath, and just how many times people put Scotch tape on the bottom of my blades before I went out there, cutting a stick almost to where it was broken. So that first shot, you went flying on the ground. So many little things that guys would do in the locker room to play jokes and stuff like that. Those were the usual ones. Yeah.
Okay.
So Old Town Scottsdale has a place called Dirk's Bentley Whiskey Bar. Have you ever been there?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep. I actually partied there with Kid Rock. At one point, myself and a couple of friends of mine and Kid Rock, we partied there extensively for one night. It was a lot of fun. Great bar, right next to Bottle Blonde, which is another crazy night spot in Scottsdale.
Yeah, that whole block was awesome. And that's where we went for a stag last summer, and now I can't wait.
It's dangerous. It's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Yeah, I do not hang out there anymore. No. Trust me.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure cartel guy tried to take me out. Hey, can you tell the rattlesnake story? Somebody sent me a text message to make sure I asked the rattlesnake story.
I had a bunch of them. I had a lot of them. I caught them in my garage. I used to catch them on the golf course. I actually chased around one of the guys I was playing with on the golf course because he was beating me. Picked up a rattler and chased him up the fairway. Scared him so bad that he ended up double bogeying the next couple holes. And I actually caught a snake one time, and I wrapped it around. It wrapped around my arm, and I brought it in the car, and I drove home so I could scare my wife with it. And I walked in, and she's making the bed, and told her I brought a friend home, and she literally, clung to the ceiling in complete horror. But I don't know anybody that would drive home with a rattlesnake wrapped around his arm just so he can scare his wife. So yeah, I was never afraid of those. You just got to stay away from the front of them. Those mouths are pretty dangerous, but they have no arms or legs, so just got to be careful with them.
JR, do you get out to BC much in the summertime? Do you do any golfing out here?
I haven't played golf there since the 2010 Olympics. Okay. Some great golf up there, and actually played played in Kelowna one time, and
probably Predator Ridge.
Yeah, I wouldn't even remember the golf, but they have some spectacular places to play.
Right.
A lot of rain, not too much time to play golf, but I've gotten to play a few times up there. It's one of my favorite areas of the world. It's one of the most beautiful parts of the world that I think everybody should get to see at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just don't fly Air Canada.
Exactly. Actually, Air Canada, last time I flew, they were a lot better, but I had definitely my most horrific trip this past summer with Air Canada, but it seems like they've gotten their shit together. Thank goodness.
Did Gordie Howe once throw a snowball and hit you in the face?
No, I don't know who told you that. No.
Okay. Oh, I thought I read somewhere about hitting you in the head with a snowball.
No, he dumped snow on my head when I was 7 years old. I was watching a Hartford Whalers practice, and I was hanging over the glass, and he dumped snow all over my head. I thought that was the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. And I've told the story. That it's why I treat the fans the way that they do, because acknowledgement is a very, very big thing for me. Gordie Howe acknowledged me when I was 7 years old. He didn't have to do that, but it was like the coolest thing that ever happened to me. And I talked so much about it. And I was able to do that for thousands and thousands of kids when I played, because Gordie Howe had such an impact on me. So it was just a snow dumping on my head. That's all it was.
What do you want your legacy to be remembered as?
Well, on the ice, I just a complete warrior and gamer. I wanted to be the guy that can come through in the big clutch situations. I wanted to be known as a guy who could hurt you on the scoreboard, who can hurt you with the play, or can hurt you physically. A guy that doesn't get pushed out of the game. When you talk to the people that I played against, and you ask them to explain or talk about what I was like as a player, and it gives me a lot of gratitude to say, when they say he was one fucking tough hockey player and one fucking good hockey player. That right there alone is a legacy that I want to be known for. But even more so, it was my the way that I treated the fans, and the way that I made sure that the fans knew that I was appreciative that they were there. I'd sign autographs in every single city until every single person was done. Even during games, I'd throw pucks to kids, or I'd take popcorn out of their bag, take the hat off their head, just play with them and just have some fun like Gordie Howe did to me, and make sure that they knew that I was that I knew that they were paying their hard-earned money for a ticket, and I appreciated it, and I wanted to give them the best show that I possibly could, and I didn't waste their money. And I will say, if you go to a lot of places and go to a lot of the guys that stand outside and have cards signed, or people that have met me, they'll say that I'm nothing like sometimes the media portrays me to be.
Perfect. That's just it. And I know you're good. You seem very nice when we briefly chatted that time. Mm-hmm. And while I was getting the autograph, do you have a dream foursome for golf? And what's your handicap?
Well, unfortunately, right now I'm a +1, which doesn't well for me winning money, because it's too hard to win as a +1. I have a big golf tournament next week, which I'm excited. That's going to be on Golf Channel, so that's hopefully I can play well next week. As terms of my golf foursome, I've been asked this many times. I've played with some of the greatest guys. I've played with Michael Jordan. I've played with Charles Barkley. I've played with. I think playing with Clint Eastwood would be a lot of fun. I've played golf with Trump many times, so I've played with presidents. But I do think playing with Ronald Reagan would have been really cool. Playing with Clint Eastwood would have been really cool, and probably, I don't know who that third person would be that I would like to play with. It'd probably be somebody back in history that was an avid golfer, like a real golfer, like Arnold Palmer or Gary Player or Sam Snead, somebody that had some serious history in the game.
You ever come across John Daly?
Oh, many times. I played with him. That guy. Yeah, that guy is 9 cents short of a dime. He's the best. Huh. He is definitely probably the wildest athlete that I've ever been around, for sure.
Yeah, I witnessed it when one time he walked out of a golf tournament here in Vancouver, and I was a little kid, and I'll never forget him because they wouldn't let him smoke on the golf course.
See, he just lives life the way he wants to live. And if you don't like it, then see you later. He doesn't have time for that. And you have to love him for living the life that he wants to live and the way he wants to live it.
Which one of your acting roles is your favorite?
I'm becoming an actor, I think.
Hi, I need to get on the next flight to Ireland.
Ireland, huh?
Yes.
You'll have to connect to New York. It'll just be a minute.
Looking for Washington.
Yeah.
Coming right up, Mike.
Yeah, I can't see him right now. Where's Mike?
He just ran out of here.
What, you say where?
Nope. He's definitely upset, though.
Shoot. I mean, again, that's another tough one. My roles in Arliss were really cool. I did. I think I was the most reoccurring sports star on Arliss back on HBO back in the day. I think my commercials were probably my most fun. My commercials with Tracy Morgan was pretty epic for NHL 2004.
Yeah, playing with the big boys now. I'm gonna put your stick on my wall. Because I've been playing ESPN NHL hockey. I've done the skills competition. I'm fast, I'm agile, and I'm accurate. Don't get scared now. Don't get Yeah, I know you're nervous. Rated E for everyone.
That was a lot of fun. She said, "Just I don't know. I've been in so many different things. I can't even think of all the ones that come back into my mind."
You have a pregame. Go ahead.
Sorry, back in the day when you first broke into the league, was there much hazing or not? Not really.
Not really. The hazing. I mean, you used to have to carry the bags out. It was more. Yeah. It was more the rookie dinners, right? So, my rookie dinner cost me about $9,500, which at the time was a lot of money, but nowadays probably get off easy. Guys drinking, Louis V, and drinking the best bottles of wine, making sure that that rookie dinner bill got up as high as it can. But they just treated you like a rookie. Made you do certain things, carry the water bottles, fill the water bottles, help carry the bags with the trainers, all that little stuff. But the hazing stuff, not so much. Well, I remember during, when we were doing it with other kids, our hazing would have been like, we made some of the young guys at Morton's one day. We're doing rookie party at Morton's, and we had 3 rookies, all from 3 different countries, and we made them walk into the main dining room at Morton's and literally go stand in the middle of somebody's table. Stand on the table and sing their national anthem in front of the whole restaurant as loud as they could. So that was a pretty tough one for them to handle, but people got a pretty big kick out of it.
So kids nowadays do the rookie initiation and they have to sing a karaoke song. What's your go-to karaoke song?
It's Funky Cole Medina, man. Loke.
There you go.
Cole Medina or Bust a Move. Or Bust a Move, those old school rap. Those are the ones that I go to. I've won a few karaoke contests singing those. So, yeah.
Did you have any pregame rituals? And then he'll shoot you one.
I had too many when I was. We don't call them. We just the rituals are, they were just things that you just like to do, right? They were routines. I don't like to say you're superstitious, but I'd get up at the same time. I would eat the same thing for breakfast. I would drive the same way to the rink. I'd leave the same time for the rink. I would, I'd go to sleep at the exact same time. I'd leave for the rink at the same time. I'd tape my stick at the same time. Get dressed the same way. I would drink a certain amount of coffees. I'd always eat a Kit Kat right before I went out to the ice. There's a lot of things that I did during my career. As I got older, I kind of stepped away from a lot of those things and just went and played hockey and didn't worry about all that bullshit. But when you're younger, the routine really makes you feel more comfortable going into a game.
Well, do you want to shoot yours there, Bill?
Yeah. So, are you Ovechkin or Crosby? What's your thought? I mean, Ovechkin's playing well. He's going to break that record.
Two exactly totally different people, two different players. Both of them have been the best thing for the National Hockey League over the last 15, 20 years. You have Sidney Crosby, who literally is the model of perfection. I think of professionalism, leadership, plays the game the right way, his dedication to the game. I think he has carried over the Gordie Howe legacy. He's carried over the Wayne Gretzky legacy, the Mario Lemieux legacy, in terms of the way that he handles himself. I mean, he's probably one of the most classiest, guys. And I used to hate Sidney Crosby. I used to hate playing against him. I used to, think he was he was weak, that he was a baby, that he was a whiner. And then I got to really watch him and admire him and learn about him and meet him as a person. And I think he's absolutely fantastic. I'm a huge Sidney Crosby fan.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm also a huge Ovechkin fan, because he brings the other element that Crosby doesn't have, that ferocity, the hard hitting, the dynamic goal scoring, shooting ability. I mean, what Ovechkin's been able to do in his career is absolutely mind blowing. I think he's the best goal scorer I've ever seen in the game.
You think he's
that release just deadly? That shot.
He's scoring 50 goals every single season. He's 37 years old. He's going to score 50 again this year for the 10th time in his career, and he's doing it against guys that are as good as they ever been, with equipment that is as good as it's ever been, goaltenders that are as talented and flexible and agile, and coordinated as they've ever been, against defensemen that can skate faster than anybody that's ever skated, that are stronger than they've ever been able to skate. So Ovechkin's doing this in an era that is, it's ungodly.
Right. I got two more for you.
I think it's going to be very close, and it's going to be really close to see whether he breaks Gretz's record. And I think if it wasn't for his lockout in the first year, and if it wasn't for the COVID and the shutdowns, I think COVID and the shutdowns and the way that the league shut down and reacted to the COVID situation could cost him that record.
That's true. Okay, I have two more questions, and we get rid of you. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. How does it feel being the last goal scored in Chicago in the old stadium?
And he slides it out to center ice. Keith Carney had his pass deflected. And it's corralled by Weinrich. Bouncing one over the leaf line. Murphy picked out of midair to Amani. Center one. Roenick.
Obviously very cool, because it was the most iconic building of all time. It was the loudest. It was the most energetic. It was the most intimidating, and one of the most historic buildings ever built. And to know that you closed that out by being the last Hawk ever to score, and it's pretty special.
Next one was, are we going to see you in the Hall of Fame?
Probably not. And and I'm okay with it. I pretty much don't worry about that stuff anymore. Okay. I'm way past that.
Hey, let's throw this one in on a happy note. How big a fan are you of Vince Vaughn?
If you're not a fan of Vince Vaughn, then you're not into pop culture. You just don't like movies. If you don't like Vince Vaughn, then you're a book lover. You're not a movie lover.
Hey, who would play you in a movie?
So I have a couple people that. If it was a younger version, it would have been Woody Harrelson as a younger version, and I think as an older version, everybody says James Woods would be a good JR. Yeah,
I got one more.
Hey,
who's that?
What's your favorite game? Vegas game.
Anything that I can win money at. If I'm going by a table, I'm putting money down and seeing if I can win. But if I'm gonna have a choice of which one I'm gonna play, I'm probably gonna play either craps or a game called Pai Gow, which is a 7-card poker game. Okay. So poker, Pai Gow, and craps are my just absolute loves for sure.
Okay, cool.
So we want to thank you for giving us your time of day, and it was really good getting to chat to you. We're obviously big fans of you forever, and we're going to continue being big fans of you going forward.